battle. You have about 4,000 to 8,000 Islamic fighters. Is ISIS still a huge factor? This is the last big city they had in Iraq.
2 years ago, they were Chipotle. Right now, they're Soup Plantation.
What does that mean?
They're undergoing a tremendous corporate restructuring right now.
Obviously not properly secured, I guess.
Oh. The battle for the Iraqi city of Mosul is underway. It's an offensive that could last for months.
The terror group ISIS has controlled Mosul for 2 years. Connor Powell has more on the fight to recapture the city.
Smoke is seen rising over the outskirts of Mosul, despite a slowdown in fighting. Iraqi troops already gaining ground on ISIS, advancing to the east and to the south of the city. They're heading to larger villages and reaching civilians.
The operation is going according to schedule, and we have been very successful. The enemy is pulling back, but they are leaving small mobile units behind.
Iraq launching the massive effort to push ISIS out of Mosul Monday, after more than 2 years of militant control. The Pentagon says Iraqis are in charge of the long-awaited operation, but local fighters are being backed by American airstrikes, as well as advisors on the ground.
Mosul will be a difficult fight, and there will be advances and there will be setbacks, but I am confident that just as ISIL has been defeated in communities across Iraq, ISIL will be defeated in Mosul as well, and that will be another step towards their ultimate destruction.
More than 1 million people are believed to still live in Iraq's second largest city. The United Nations says some 200,000 could be displaced in the first few weeks of the offensive, and hundreds of thousands more may need to flee as the fighting goes on.
EU fears that the offensive to retake Mosul could produce a humanitarian catastrophe, resulting in one of the largest man-made displacement crises in recent years.
ISIS also dealing with a threat from neighboring Syria. The Syrian army says that militants will be met with force if they try to cross from Iraq into Syria. In Jerusalem, Connor Powell, Fox News.
All right, joining us now to talk more about this is talk radio host and decorated veteran Bryan. He served in 3 conflicts, including Iraq. How do you see this playing out?
The Iraqis will prevail. The math is with them, the arithmetic, the momentum is with them. ISIS can't resupply their own guys. They can make it extremely costly because urban combat is the most deadly form of combat, from jungle to desert to mountain. Urban combat beats them all. It's horrible. But ultimately the Iraqis, for them, this is their war for national identity. The ISIS guys, you know, they were in it for the Caliphate, but it's falling apart. They lost their holy city in Syria on Saturday. Now they're about to lose Mosul. All they can do now is basically be vandals and make it really bloody, because they do know that if they force the Iraqi army, which is primarily Shia, to use a really heavy hand, they're going to alienate the 1 million, mainly Sunni Arabs in Mosul who need to be brought back into the country, because dismayingly, over the past 2 years, there has not been this real uprising against ISIS, and the Iraqi government's kind of been, you know, doing some soul searching, saying, well, maybe they prefer ISIS to us, so we need to make the case that we're going to include you into a new Iraq. And then the other dynamic here is the Kurdish dynamic. The Kurds are a crucial part of this. They're better fighters than the Iraqis, I can personally tell you. They're better trained at urban fighting, but they're actually a separate command here. They're not listening to Baghdad, and they're kind of saying, what's in it for us again? If we do this, if we take it, can we keep it? And Baghdad's saying, no, if we take it, we all become one Iraq. And that was not the narrative two years ago when there was Shia Iraq, but then everybody else. So now that Baghdad government has to say, okay, you know, let's all come together and take Mosul with minimum destruction, and that's where we come in. Because
so how difficult is this going to be with the humanitarian concern? You talk about 1 million people that are still going to be in there. You have 3,500, 4,000, maybe ISIS soldiers in there, and you're trying to sort of extract them amongst 1 million people here, without having the collateral damage or the casualties amongst the people who are living there.
You assume, and the people of Mosul are not new to war, sadly, but they're good at it, at surviving it. They've spent the last couple of months hoarding food and water. The Iraqis know how to get through this. And if they feel encouraged enough to assist the incoming Iraqi army, then you're going to see them rising up. You're going to see them pointing out, hey, there's bad guys in the third story up there, because that's the issue with urban warfare, is that it's three-dimensional. I was in Desert Storm, and it was like a billiard table. It was two-dimensional. I was in Sarajevo in 1998-99, and that blew me away because there were 30-story buildings. In Baghdad in 2005, there were people dropping grenades from the 30th story on us, and it's just a very, very intense kind of warfare, and your inclination is, you know, to call in the B-52s, but it's their country. You can't do that. We wouldn't do it here, and so they have to show the people of Mosul it's a good thing to cooperate with us. It's a good thing to be an Iraqi. Let's kick these guys out, reboot the country, and also for the ISIS guys, they don't have the training or the doctrine or the elan, as they say. When they see real artillery and real air support, they're already fleeing back into Syria with their families or back to Belgium, which is a different set of problems.
Give me an idea about the status of ISIS right now, because you're going to have almost 100,000 coalition forces working on this battle. You have about 4,000 to 8,000 Islamic fighters. Is ISIS still a huge factor? This is the last big city they had in Iraq.
2 years ago, they were Chipotle. Right now, they're Soup Plantation. They're undergoing,
what does that mean?
They're undergoing a tremendous corporate restructuring right now. They are fighting a three-front war from Turkey to Syria to Mosul. They never counted on that. They had, frankly, and I'm being completely honest, they had counted on literally holy intervention by now. They literally had counted on God taking a side and coming down and smiting the infidels or the heretics or whomever, people you know, who are left-handed. It hasn't happened. At least if I think it would be news. And this is actually, for morale purposes, this is the number one thing that's making young men who thought they were doing this for the right reasons 2 years ago, and making them question, what am I doing in Mosul again? You know, I'm not Iraqi. They know my accent. I'm going to be, the second we lose, I'm going to be in jail forever. I'd rather go back to Belgium.
And how do you think this plays out in the American election at all? I mean, the American public really doesn't pay that much attention to this stuff, but yet they hear ISIS all the time. If we have this heavy hand now against ISIS in this operation, does it play into the hands, let's say, of the Democrats who are saying, yeah, we have a policy against ISIS to take down ISIS? Or, you know, you have Donald Trump who continues to say ISIS has been a problem created by the Obama administration and Hillary.
A savvy candidate would pin this on Hillary and say this was a setup of your time as Secretary of State. You guys picked up your football and you left Iraq. That's what a savvy candidate would do, instead of saying we should take a drug test. I didn't sexually harass anybody. That's what a savvy candidate would do. But a narcissist would sit there and spend the weekend claiming that the Democrats should take a drug test. So,
all right, just a final quick
free
thought.
Advice.
So, are you predicting Iraqi victory on this?
It's inevitable. It's a no-brainer. It's just a matter of mitigating the damage and ending with a unified country at the end of it.
Wow. All right, Bryan.
Bryan, thank you very much. All right, coming up next, your takes on the top stories of the day.
And the guy takes a plunge in Newport and records this terrifying experience on camera. And they're saying, don't try this at home.